Welcome to the Mindfuck podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out to hang out with me today. I really appreciate you, my friend. My name is wonu Alice, and sometimes I do go by Amazing Soul. So thank you once again for hanging out with me. It means the world to me. So let's get right into it. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about something that I will say this though before I go right into what we're going to be talking about. I made a very personal commitment to myself that before I share anything out, I must have had a felt experience with it. That's just how I love to have my human experience. If I do not feel it in my body, not just logically knowing it, just feeling it in my body, it doesn't really sit with me. I don't know if that part makes sense, but yeah. But I will to start off today's podcast with a confession. You see, for a long time, I thought I was an honest person. I didn't lie. I didn't manipulate. I didn't intentionally deceive anyone. But what I didn't realize for many years was this. I wasn't being honest with myself. And that kind of dishonesty is very quiet. It doesn't show up as lying. It shows up as editing yourself in real time. I was the kind of person who was easy to talk to, the go with the flow one, the one who didn't need too much. And people liked that version of me. I liked being liked. But what I didn't see back then was that I was constantly filtering my truth through one question. Will this make them uncomfortable? If the answer was yes, I swallowed it. If it might cause tension, I softened it. If it risked disapproval, I abandoned it completely. I told myself that was kindness, that was maturity. I told myself that was emotional intelligence. Come to find out, it wasn't. It was people pleasing. I didn't wake up one day and decide to be a people pleaser. No. It was something I learned early. I learned that being agreeable kept me safe. I learned that reading the room mattered. I also learned that harmony was more important than honesty. You see, as a child, I became very good at sensing energy. I could feel when something was off. I could tell when someone was stressed, disappointed, and overwhelmed. So I simply adjusted. I became what the moment needed. And at first, that skill helped me to survive. It kept connection intact. It reduced conflict. But eventually, it came at a cost. Because every time I chose comfort over truth, I was slowly losing my voice. Here's what people don't talk about enough. People pleasing doesn't mean you don't have opinions. No, it means you don't express them. It doesn't mean you don't feel anger. Far from it. It means you don't allow it to surface. It also doesn't mean you don't know what you want. It means you don't trust yourself enough to say it out loud. And over time, that creates a very specific kind of exhaustion. It's not physical. It's not even emotional. It is existential because you will start to feel invisible in your own life. I remember one moment very clearly in my life. I was in a relationship where, on the surface, everything looked fine. No big fights, no obvious problems. But inside me, I felt very small. I kept saying yes when I really meant no. I kept agreeing just to keep the peace. I kept telling myself, well, no, it's not that big of a deal. Until one day, my body said otherwise. I felt tight, restricted. I couldn't simply relax. And I remember thinking to myself, why am I so uncomfortable when nothing is technically wrong? That's when it clicked for me. Something was wrong. I wasn't being honest with myself. Now, it wasn't in a dramatic ways. It was in thousand small ways where I wasn't being honest with myself. Honesty doesn't always look like confrontation. No. Sometimes honesty looks like admitting I don't actually feel okay with this. Or I laughed, but that really hurt. Or even I said yes, but my body was screaming no. You see, one thing that people pleasing taught me is to override those signals. Honesty asked me to slow down and listen. One of the hardest things I've had to learn was that honesty doesn't guarantee acceptance. Initially, that was terrifying for me because my nervous system had learned if you're honest, you might lose connection. So my system equated honesty with danger and people pleasing with safety. Now, truly understanding that changed everything for me because it helped me stop shaming myself for why honesty initially felt so damn hard. It wasn't a character flaw of mine, it was just simply early childhood conditioning. That's all. And finding my voice did not happen overnight. Far from it. It didn't start with big declarations or dramatic boundary setting moments. No. For me, it started very quietly. It started with noticing. Noticing when my body tensed up before I spoke. Noticing when I rehearsed what I was going to say to make it palatable. Noticing when I laughed things off that actually mattered to me. Instead of forcing myself to be more honest, I got really curious. I asked myself, Wonu, what am I afraid would happen if I tell the truth right now? Usually the answer was simple. I'm afraid they won't like me. I'm afraid I will be too much. I'm afraid I will disrupt the peace. That was the little girl inside of me expressing herself. Now, here's something important I had to learn. Peace that costs you your voice is not peace, it's suppression. And I can tell you this suppression always shows up later in resentment, in burnout, in disconnection from yourself. There was a moment in my life when I finally said something I had been holding in for a very long time. My voice shook, my heart raced. I wanted to immediately take it back. And the world did not end. That moment taught my nervous system something new, that honesty didn't automatically lead to abandonment, that discomfort wasn't the same as danger, that my voice could exist and still be safe. That was the turning point for me. But here's the truth that doesn't get shared enough. Sometimes honesty doesn't change relationship. And I can tell you from personal experience that can be very fucking painful. When you stop people pleasing, some dynamics can't survive. Not because honesty is wrong, but because the relationship was built on your silence. And grieving that is part of the process, my friend. You see, on my journey, I had to mourn versions of myself that were loved for being agreeable. I had to grieve connections that only worked when I stayed small. That grief was real, but so was the relief. Because for the very first time in my life, I wasn't betraying myself to be chosen. Finding my real voice wasn't about becoming louder. No, it was about becoming truer. Sometimes my honesty was soft, sometimes it was firm, sometimes it was admitting to myself what I actually felt. And that internal honesty mattered just as much as external expression. One thing I want to be very clear about is this: honesty is not brutality. It's not dumping unprocessed emotions onto people. It's not using truth as a weapon. Real honesty comes with responsibility. It sounds like, this is my experience. This is how this lands in my body. This is what I need right now. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be aggressive to be real. As I practiced honesty in my life, something surprising happened along the journey. I started trusting myself more because every time I honored my truth, even in small ways, I was sending my nervous system a message. I've got you, wonu. And that trust built slowly, micro moment by moment. If you're listening to this and realizing you've been people pleasing too, I want to say this gently to you, my friend. You don't need to flip a switch and become radically honest overnight. No. Start smaller. Notice when you're about to say yes out of fear. Notice when your body contracts. Notice when you feel resentment creeping in. That awareness alone is already honesty. And ask yourself, what do I actually feel right now? Ask yourself, what would honesty sound like if it didn't have to be perfect? Sometimes honesty is just admitting, I need more time. I don't know yet. I'm not ready to answer that. Those are real voices too, my friend. Today, honesty still feels vulnerable to me, but it also feels very grounding because my life finally sounds like me. Not the edited version, not the safe version, not the version that keeps everyone comfortable. No, the real one. And that kind of freedom, I didn't know I was allowed to have. That's the truth. If this resonates with you in any way, my friend, if you're in between space of letting go of people pleasing, but not quite sure who you are without it, you're not behind. In fact, you're right on time. Your voice isn't gone. No, 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 far from it. It's just been waiting for safety. And you can build that safety one honest moment at a time. Yes, you can. I'm always rooting for you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for taking time to listen. From my heart to yours, I'm sending you so much love. Thank you.